To attach the top to the base, we're going to be using a 30-inch hinge. Before we place that hinge, we need to figure out which side of our project is going to be the front and which side is going to be the back. On this particular project, I have chosen this side to be the back because I have a small area that blew out on me when I was routering my rabbet. To lay out the location of the hinge, we want to set it in place on the back, and we want to take a tape measure and measure each side and adjust that hinge accordingly to make sure there is equal distance on either side of the hinge. Then we're going to take a pencil and draw a mark on both sides of the hinge. Because we want our top of the blanket chest to sit flat on the base, we're going to come in and router a small groove or a small channel for the hinge to fit in, so that our top is going to sit completely flat all around our project. Using a piece of scrap with a couple screws started and one good edge, I'm going to place the hinge on top of that scrap piece, and I want the top of the hinge to be perfectly flush with the top of my back. When I have it situated correctly, I'm going to screw in the screws. If I remove that hinge, you will see that the scrap piece I attached is slightly lower than the back of my project. The distance that it is lower is the thickness of the hinge. Using a router with a flush cut bit, I can then flush cut using my scrap board as a guide that the bearing is going to ride along. I can flush cut the entire channel or groove for my hinge to fit in. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that our router will leave a radius and our hinge has a square edge on it. So when we router, we want to router just a little bit farther than the line that we had previously drawn. That way our channel or our groove is going to be ever so slightly longer than the length of our hinge. Now that we have it set up to router, we're going to tip our blanket chest and flip it so that we can have the weight of the router sitting on top of our project. This will allow us to have much better control while we're routing. And additionally, you'll want to clamp your project to the table so it's not going to move around on you. Before removing that scrap guide piece, make sure you sit the hinge in place and verify that there is enough room for it to sit flat. If everything looks good, you can remove that scrap guide piece.